أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Assalamu alaikum to all of you. I hope all of you are doing good. And as you know, as all of you know, we have covered our first two para, the first two juz of Quran. Today we are going to do the third juz, third para, that is Tilka Rusulu. Let's to see a short introduction of it. This para consists of, or the comprises of two surah. The first one is the later para of the later part of Surah Al-Baqarah. That is the third part of Surah Al-Baqarah. And the verses 253 to 286 of Surah Al-Baqarah are in the para number 3. The one whom are following from the para 1 or the Juz 1, they have known, like we already discussed the first two part of Surah Al-Baqarah in the previous two paras. And the second surah that came in para number 3, it's Surah Al Imran. And the verse 1 to verse number 91, they are in the para number 3. And we are going to see what kind of the teachings we just got from here, and what kind of the messages or what kind of the information we got from the para number 3. If we just to see what kind of the topics we are going to discuss, the first thing is about the virtues of prophets and their ranks. Ayat al-Kursi, the greatest verse of the Quran, no compulsion in the religion, and dua for seeking help from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, test and trials by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, steadfastness in difficult times, and the last one, qualities of true believers. We are going to cover these 7 basic topics that are highlighted the most in this para number 3 or just number 3. Let's to see. Before continuing to the prophet stories mentioned in this para, uh, let's do imagine like you're standing in the middle of a vast desert at night, and the sky is full of stars, and you feel like small compared to the whole big universe, right? Have you ever wondered who created all of these, or who controls life and death? So this para is going to answer all of these deep questions and teach us how to live a life full of faith, patience, and good deeds. Para number 3, Tilka Rusulu, basically continues from para number 2, let off, and it includes the later part, as I mentioned already. And the stories that we're going to discuss here in this para, it's about Prophet Adam alayhi salam, and Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam, the Prophet Musa alayhi salam, and the Prophet Isa alayhi salam. If we just to look for the very first verse in this para, Tilka Rusulu faddalna ba'duhum ala ba'din, and we continue this verse number 253. What does this verse teach us? This verse basically teaches us about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as I mentioned in the first topic, virtues of the prophets and their different ranks. Allah gives the verse I said, Tilka Rusulu faddalna ba'duhum ala ba'din. If we translate it, these messengers, we gave some of them more than others. Now here Allah raised the rank of some prophets as compared to other one, right? Like all of them are chosen by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but some of them are given higher ranks comparative to other. Like Prophet Isa alayhi salam was given the miracles, and the Prophet Musa was able to talk to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then the greatest verses, Ayat al-Kursi is given in this para number 3 of the Quran. And then no compulsion in this religion, dua for seeking help from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, tests and trials by Allah, steadfastness in difficult times, and qualities of true believers. If we see the prophet stories first, story of the Prophet Ibrahim and King Namrud, we are going to discuss from 258, verse number 258 to onward. It is given in the para number 3 or just number 3. The one we covered about this same story, a little part of it covered in the para number 2 as well. If you remember, it was about being arrogant and how Prophet Ibrahim, just to prove that Allah is the one and only who is a creator, and he have the power, and no human in this world can just to be equal to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or partner to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So stories like long ago there was a king named Nimrud who was very powerful and arrogant. He thought he was a god because he ruled over many people. And he had everything, gold, palaces, and soldiers, but he had like one big problem. He was arrogant and he thought he had the power of life and death. I already mentioned it shortly in the previous para as well. So one day Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam came to Nimrud and told him, my Lord, like Allah, is the one who gives life and death. Because Prophet Ibrahim was preaching Allah's message. But Nimrud laughed and said, I can also give life and death. To prove his point, he ordered his guards to bring two prisoners. He set one prisoner free and killed the other one. Then he proudly said, see, I also control life and death, right? But Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam knew how to prove Nimrud wrong. He said, if you're God, then make the sun rise from the west instead of east. And Nimrud was shocked. He knew he could never do because only Allah controls the sun, the moon, and the entire universe. He had no answer and he was humiliated in front of the people. And similarly, another story of the Prophet Ibrahim and King Nimrud is given, and the bird is given, where asking for the sign of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If we go in the story number 3, let's do discuss it first, because it's also the Prophet of Ibrahim. Then we will go with the story number 2. The Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam asked Allah to show how He gives life to the dead. Allah instructed him to take 4 birds, cut them into pieces, and place them on different mountains. Then Allah revived the birds to show His power. So it was like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala showed his signs to the Prophet Ibrahim here, right? Allah has the power to bring anything back to life even after death. Never doubt Allah's ability. He can do anything, everything happen in Allah's perfect timing, even if we don't understand it. Okay? فَأَمَاتَ اللَّهُ مِيَّةَ آمٍ ثُمَّ بَعَثَ. So Allah caused him to die for 100 years, then brought him back to life. It is the verse number 259, which is giving sign towards the story of Prophet Uzair alayhi salam. Who was the Prophet Uzair? Let's to see it. A man believed to be Prophet Uzair alayhi salam saw a city in ruin and doubted how Allah could bring life to the dead. Allah made him sleep for 100 years and revived him as a proof of. Okay, now if we see the verse number 259 of Surah Al-Baqarah, then it talks about the story of Prophet Uzair alayhi salam. There was a man, some says he was Prophet Uzair alayhi salam, who was traveling and came across a town that was completely destroyed. The houses were broken, the trees were dead, and everything was quiet. It looked like a ghost town. He wondered, how will Allah bring this town back to life? Allah wanted to show him a miracle, so Allah made him sleep for 100 years. Imagine taking a nap and waking 100 years later. When he woke up, he was very confused. He looked around, and the town was rebuilt. People were living there, and life was normal. And he didn't even realize how much time had passed. Allah then asked him, how long do you think you slept? He said, maybe a day or the part of a day. But Allah told him, no, you have slept for 100 years. To prove it, Allah showed him his donkey. When he fell asleep, his donkey was alive, but now it was nothing but bones. Right in front of his eyes, Allah brought the donkey back to life. At that moment, he realized the power of Allah and said, I now believe that Allah can bring the dead back to life. So the thing we need to understand from here, Allah has the power to bring anything back to life, right? So we shouldn't just to doubt Allah's ability. Okay, let's just see the next one. After these 3 stories, the 2 stories of Prophet Ibrahim and the one story was about Prophet Uzair alayhi salam. Okay, let's just see which is the next prophet story mentioned. We covered the Prophet Ibrahim, Prophet Uzair, and the remaining is story of Prophet Adam, Prophet Musa, and Prophet Isa. We will just to discuss it shortly as well. The story of Prophet Musa is given like Prophet Musa was sent to Pharaoh and a cruel king who also thought he was a god. Allah gave Musa alayhi salam many miracles to prove that he was true prophet. One of his famous miracle was his stick. When Prophet Musa alayhi salam threw his stick on the ground, it turned into a huge snake, right? And Pharaoh's magicians tried to do the same using magic, but Musa's snake ate up all of their fake snakes. And the magician immediately understood that it was not magic, and it was a true miracle from Allah. And other miracle was parting the Red Sea. When Pharaoh and his army were chasing the Musa alayhi salam and his people, Allah told Musa to strike his stick on the sea, and the sea split into 2 huge walls of the water, creating a dry path for Musa and his people to cross. And when Pharaoh and his soldiers tried to follow, the water crashed down on the on them, drowning them all. And um, if you just do check in the history of this sea, which is mentioned in this para here, the Red Sea, um, like we can see the fossils derived from the Red Sea, or the kind of history mentioned about the Red Sea. Even the historians mentioned there is a kind of the story happened in the history that is mentioned in the Quran as it is. Okay, what basically, even we being the Muslim, we believe that every word written in Quran is true. So we even don't need the scientific proofs and the history proofs about it. But the thing we need to learn from here is never be arrogant like Pharaoh, always be humble. Allah help his true believers in the most amazing ways. No one can defeat Allah's power no matter how strong they think they are. Like how impossible it seems, like a Red Sea is going to be parted into two parts, and then it can allow, it's the sea. See have like how deep water it have, like how impossible it seems and it sounds like to be parted in two ways and allow Prophet Musa alayhi salam and his nation to pass through it. But Allah make it possible because it was miracle for, and Allah make it possible for Prophet Musa alayhi salam. Then, if we go about the story of Prophet Isa alayhi salam and his miracles, the story of Prophet Isa alayhi salam, that Christians call Jesus, was born miraculously. His mother Maryam alayhi salam was not married yet. Allah gave her a son. This was a sign of Allah's power. Allah gave Isa alayhi salam many miracles to prove he was a prophet. He spoke as a baby. When people accused his mother, Maryam alayhi salam, he spoke from the cradle and said, I am a servant of Allah. He has given me the book and made me a prophet. He healed the blind and the sick with Allah's permission. And he brought a dead person back to life as well. He created a bird from clay and made it fly by Allah's will. So these were all the miracles given in this para in Surah Al Imran about Prophet Isa alayhi salam. And this proves that miracles happen when only Allah gives the permission, when only Allah allows the miracle happens. Prophet Isa was the servant of Allah, not the God, or not the son of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or not the partner of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He was a servant and the prophet, just like other prophets, he was the prophet and he was a servant of Allah. Allah always believe in Allah's power no matter what. Okay, if we see the Quranic verses given, we can continue from Iskal Allahu ya Isa ibn Maryam askuru ni'mati alayka. This is the verse number 49 of Surah Al Imran, and the translation is like, and make him a messenger to the children of Israel, who will say, Indeed, I have come to you with a sign from your Lord. If we just to see these teachings, what kind of the conclusions we got from here is these stories from para number 3 teach us that Allah is the most powerful and can do anything. Whether it's like parting the sea, bringing the dead to back to life, or making a baby speak from the cradle, nothing is possible for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You might have seen some parts of your life where you feel like there are no doors open for me, and it's the very difficult phase of my life, and there are troubles everywhere for me. You should trust on Allah and just seek help from Allah and ask for guidance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then definitely Allah will make miraculous ways for you if you just to follow Allah's guidance, inshallah. Okay, let's to talk about little bit the verses given in this para, the verses that are very important. That is Ayat al-Kursi have so many benefits. I already mentioned many times in the daily lectures. Allahu la ilaha illa huwa al-hayyul qayyum. It begins from here. I have given all of the, most of you all already memorized it during the lectures. So it begins from the Surah Al-Baqarah, verse number 255. It teaches us about Allah is supreme and Allah's power is supreme, and Allah's supreme power and protection of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and no compulsion in religion. This means like when we just read the verse number 256, like Rahafiddin, it begins from here. There is no compulsion in religion. Surely the right path has become distinct from the wrong one. So Islam is a religion for guidance, not force. So if you seek guidance, if you learn it, you understand it, you just do try to ponder about the things mentioned in the Quran, and you just do drive the conclusions, and you try to understand the teachings given in Quran, then you will surely find which is the right path and which is the wrong path. Both are going to be very distinct. So next one is Allah's promise to the believers. If we go with the verse number 286 of Surah Al-Baqarah, Allah does not burden a soul beyond what it can bear. La yukallifullahu nafsan illa wus'aha. So this verse teaches us Allah's commands are fair, and He never tests a person beyond their capacity. So never just to complain Allah for having troubles and difficulties in your life. Whatever kind of the difficulties and troubles you have, it's not more than you can bear. Allah knows well how much a soul can just do uh, deal with these kind of the troubles and difficulties. So trust Allah to just to remove these difficulties and troubles and trial phases of your life. Okay, now shortly we are going to see what kind of the worships and ibadah are mentioned in this part of Quran, para number 3 or just number 3. If we go with the verse number 153, the salah mention, it is mentioned about to salah, about praying salah, mentioned as means of patience and success. Salah brings us the patience and success too. Then zakat, charity, encourage to purify wealth. We already discussed it with details in the previous two videos. If we see from the verse 267 to 273, then fasting referenced as a means of righteousness, Surah Al-Baqarah, the verse number 183 to onward. Then Hajj, its purpose and significance explained. Then Shahada, that is explained in the Surah Al Imran, verse number 18. The importance of believing in Allah and His messengers. Then actions to do mentioned in this para. If we go the verse number 7, Surah Al Imran, seek knowledge and wisdom. Then verse number 134, Surah Al Imran, teaches us to be kind and forgiving. Verse number 146 of Al Imran teaches us for having patience in hardships. Verse number 191 of Surah Al Imran teaches us remember Allah often. And the verse number 159 of Surah Al Imran teaches us about trust in Allah's plan. And the verse number 261 in Surah Al Baqarah, spend in charity. If you focus, Allah mentioned in the about the charity almost in every part of the Quran. When we did the first para, Juzz 1, Juzz 2, Juzz 3, it's mostly mentioned in the all parts, and equally or little bit more than the Salah, I think, mentioned in the Quran. Okay, we will check for it. The charity is mentioned more times or salah, but the thing is, we need to just to focus on the charity is mentioned almost each part of the Quran. So we should just try to make it a part of our life as much as we just do add up the other ibadah and other kind of the worships in our day-to-day routine. Follow the teachings of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It's also mentioned in the verse number 31 of Surah Al Imran. So basically, if we just do conclude all of this, which story, let me know before the conclusion. I want to ask, like, which story did you like the most, and what lesson did you learn from this, from that story that you like the most? Mention in your chat section. I will check, and then I will just have an idea. Have you watched or listened this story or this lesson? And other thing is, this para number 3 is full of wisdom stories and commands that guide us to live a righteous life. It teaches us about Allah's power, importance of faith, patience, and charity, and reminds us to be steadfast in our trials. We should strive to apply these teachings in our daily lives to strengthen our faith and become better Muslims. May Allah help us to follow His guidance and make us some of the righteous. Ameen. And that's all for today. Inshallah, see you in the next part of Quran series. Para number 4, inshallah, the just number 4. Till then, just let me know what did you learn and which story just you understand.